You walk into the room, not just any room, yours. Half-past stillness, where the light spills across old rugs and dusty speakers you've never replaced. There's a corner for your watch keys, a couch that doesn't quite line up against the wall, and a need you can't fully name yet, but you feel it. A better screen, a richer picture, a TV that disappears into the moment and shows you what you didn't realize you craved. Stillness, contrast scenes that hit like memory. You've heard OLED is different. You've read the headlines passed by store shelves stacked like false promises, but what lives behind the glass? What matters more, the logo or how it feels at 9:17 p.m. when the room is quiet and you forget there's a screen between you and what you're watching? So, let's talk about the best OLED TVs worth buying in early 2025, but not the best by numbers, the best by need. Starting with the truth, no one tells you first. One best OLED TV for bright rooms, Samsung S95D. The world doesn't dim itself to fit your TV. There's sun through the windows, a bowl of fruit catching the light on the dining table. Maybe 3 lamps left on because no one agreed who was turning them off. If your living room always feels a little too awake, if daytime viewing is the norm, you'll want an OLED that isn't shy about brightness. That's where the Samsung S95D enters. This OLED doesn't fold under pressure. It stands tall in daylight like a well-made coat, deflecting glare with a finish that feels like magic. Samsung built something here that's not just bold, it's practical. You may not know what QD-OLED even is. That's fine. Just know it means you'll see reds that hum with warmth, blues that feel pulled from sky, and enough clarity to read the shade of someone's eyes during a close-up. This screen looks fresh even at noon, one of the few that resists reflection without flattening beauty. And for mixed-use homes where kids stream cartoons at 2 p.m. and someone's watching a thriller at 10, the S95D feels balanced, seen, reliable. Now, some people say it's too vibrant, too punchy, but let's be honest, nobody regrets color in a bright room. This isn't about showing off. It's about showing up in spaces you actually use. And this Samsung, it gets that. 2. Best OLED for movie lovers. Sony, a 95L. Some nights deserve silence. No phone in hand, no plans to check the time. Just you, a quiet room, and a film that's about to speak in frames, not words. If that's you, the slow watcher, the rewatcher, the one who still notices the composition of a 9's drama, the Sony A95L was built for your kind. Sony doesn't race the other brands. They don't shout in their specs. They are perfect. Yes, it's a QD2, but what matters more is the feeling it leaves behind. Sharper than the memory of a first watch. Better color tone than what the director probably saw in editing. Upscaling that turns old YouTube videos into miniature remasters. The A95L handles shadow like an artist, not just showing black, but showing shape within black. Leather shoes on dark pavement, moonlight against wet asphalt. It doesn't crush the dark, it honors it. And while others brag about motion smoothing, Sony just does something better. Natural movement, film-like pacing, realism without sharp edges. This is the TV for the person who doesn't care what time it is when the credits roll, who says let it play during final scenes with no dialogue at all. That's what makes Sony feel sacred again. 3. Best entry-level OLED. That's actually good. LGB4 series. Some people just want the picture to work, to look beautiful out of the box, to feel smooth when scrolling menus, to bring game night or background TV, the kind of respect most screens reserve for Oscar winners. The LGB4 OLED, or its near twin, the B3 from 2023, is a steady comfort in glass form. Not the fanciest, not the brightest, but pound for pound, probably the easiest real OLED to trust. Here's why it matters. If you mostly stream Hulu, Netflix, and YouTube, if your living room has average light and no theater setup, if you don't care about numbers, only be satisfied with silence while watching, then the LGB is more than enough. The blacks are true blacks. The movement feels smooth, even on old sitcoms. The screen almost disappears when you're engaged, like it knows not to interrupt. And let's not overlook that this TV supports Dolby Vision, a big deal if you want HDR that actually looks balanced, not blown out. Also, LG's Web OS can feel a bit quirky, not worse, just different, like a dialect you pick up after a few evenings. What makes this pick matter is that it doesn't try too hard. It knows what it is, and for a lot of people, that makes it perfect. 4. Best for gamers who don't want to tweak settings forever. Samsung S90D gaming used to be a niche hobby. Now, it's how people relax, connect, escape, compete. If you care more about frame rate than refresh rates, or just want to power on your console and have it work, the Samsung S90D is probably the smartest gaming OLED right now. Here's why it clicks. Instant response time. No blur to catch your eye during movement, and built-in gaming features that don't require a Google search just to activate. You get 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, which if that means nothing to you, just know it equals freedom. Plug in a PS5, Xbox soundbar, and still have room for your kid's Switch. Samsung's game mode kicks in automatically. There's no fussing in a deep menu. Also, it's bright, not just for films, but for OpenW world games where daylight changes. High color volume means explosions look explosive and shadows stay mysterious, not muddy. And if your internet's fast, Samsung's Game Hub lets you cloud stream Xbox titles without owning the console. This OLED is fast, friendly, focused. It respects playtime without play acting through buzzwords. Some people walk into a store looking for specs. Others are walking in with something else. A room with too many windows. A partner who still watches cable. A lifestyle with no time to calibrate. This part's for them, for the quiet gratifications and the unspoken deal breakers. For those who say, I just don't want to regret it. You don't have to know everything. You just have to see yourself reflected on the screen. Not literally, but emotionally. Let's keep going. 5. Best OLED for small spaces or bedrooms. LG C323 model. A bedroom TV isn't a downgrade. It's a cocoon, a gentler world. A last screen before sleep. You don't need the newest flagship in a space where silence and simplicity matter more than brightness and specular highlights. The LG C3 from just 1 year ago might be the best possible TV for rooms not built around TV. It's graceful, lightweight, surprisingly thin, like it wants to blend in rather than dominate. And though the newer C4 exists, the C3 delivers nearly the same power where it counts. Contrast, motion, clarity, without asking you to jump on this year's tech treadmill. If your lighting is dim, or your viewing style leans more quiet nights than IMAX expectations, the C3 doesn't just feel sufficient, it feels exact. Web OS still feels like a familiar app drawer. The Magic Remote still gives you that lazy mouse feeling. And the panel tech, it still holds those inky blacks with the kind of respect bedroom watchers deserve. It doesn't try to impress your friends. It proves itself where it counts. Quiet comfort at the end of the day, and in that it's kind of perfect 6 best old if you're worried about burn-in LG G4. Let's be honest about something no one likes to talk about. Old burn-in. Fear is real, especially if someone in the house watches the same channel every day. Especially if you work from home and leave the news on like digital wallpaper. The industry says it's rare now, but you say it's my money. When peace of mind matters more than having the absolute brightest or newest thing, the LG 4 Gallery Series OLED stands alone. Not just for its performance, but for its promise. This TV comes with a 5-year panel warranty, burn-in included. That sounds like a legal clause, but really it's a lullaby for your anxiety. And that's not even counting its picture quality. It's brilliantly bright when it has to be. Colors feel painted on silk. Contrast comes like waves, soft when needed, sharp when demanded. The OLED MLA panel is LG's latest evolution, an architecture that deliberately spreads light more efficiently while keeping colors honest. And like the name suggests, this thing is wall art when mounted, borderless, elegant, barely there. But again, the real story isn't the brilliance. It's the belief LG has in this model. It's the way it tells cautious buyers, go ahead. Trust me, if you like news channels, sports tickers, static HUDs in games, this is your safe space in the OLED ecosystem, and that oddly feels rarer than stunning image quality these days. 7. Best OLED for nostalgia. Sony, a nostalgia isn't about going back. It's about chasing the feeling of comfort, of warmth, of knowing what's coming but loving it anyway. If you grew up in cinema, if you still buy Blu-rays, if there's something romantic about the imperfections of older content, the way it softens at the edges, the Sony A80L might be everything you need. Not the flashiest, not the boldest, but remember, not everyone needs their picture to shout. Sony has always had a different soul, and the A80L carries it with quiet pride. Its processing isn't just fast, it's seasoned, gentle with bad signals, respectful with old film. SD looks better here. Low bitrate YouTube feels fuller. And motion, oh, the motion. Where others use artificial smoothers, Sony lets things glide with intent. A walk through a rainy street feels like poetry, not pastiche. And while Samsung gives color and fireworks, Sony gives it like daylight. Honest, layered, restless in its realism. The A80L also has better sound than most panels its size. Acoustic surface audio means the sound comes from the screen, not below it, not behind it. It's not going to replace a full system, but in small to mid-sized rooms, it makes dialogue feel centered, personal. A lot of folks want their TVs to feel like the future. This one, it's for those who miss the past and want it preserved, right? 8. Best OID for the living room. You'll have for 5+ years, Panasonic Z95. As some TVs feel like purchases, others feel like investments. The Panasonic Z95AA is the latter, one of the quiet heroes of 2025. Not advertised as loudly, not sold in as many places, but deeply, truly excellent. You may not think Panasonic when watching TV anymore. You should, because when they focus, they nail it. The Z95A has one of the brightest, most color-accurate OLED panels in a 55 to 65 in range this year. Dolby Vision support, absolutely. Filmmaker mode, of course. But what matters isn't the checkbox list. It's the feeling of control, of having confidence that whatever you're watching looks how it's meant to. The image feels relaxed, but precise. The most unprocessed of all flagship OLEDs this year. Never over-sharpened, never oversaturated, just exact. Now, a small catch, it runs Fire TV OS. That's not a deal breaker for everyone. Some people love consistency, but if you're used to Sony's Google UI or LG's WebOS, there's an adjustment. Still, in picture alone, Panasonic has gone toe-to-toe with LG and Samsung, and in some ways walked away more gracefully. If this TV were a person, it would be the one who doesn't always speak, but when they do, everyone listens. I plan to keep it for a while. It's the kind of old that feels like furniture, not tech. 9. Best OLED if you mostly watch streaming plus YouTube LG C4. If you're like a lot of people, your TV time revolves around apps, Netflix, Prime Video, YouTube, maybe sports streams, or Crunchyroll. No cable box, no Blu-ray player, just streaming. That's where the LG C4 really shines. Not just as a middle-of-the-road premium OLED, but as something tuned for modern watching habits. Its image processor is extremely forgiving on low bitrate sources, meaning local news, older uploads, or casual content won't show their flaws quite so clearly. It runs cool, quiet, quick. And even though it doesn't break any brightness records, its consistency is what holds it up. It supports every major HDR format, handles motion with subtlety, and fits just right in most rooms without screaming for attention. Seer LGs have always been about reliability plus affordability, plus elegance. The C4 continues that path. And for those wanting to unbox and relax, not dive into YouTube tutorials for calibration settings, it might be the right match. It doesn't just show content, it respects why you watch it. So here's the truth. No tech site or forum thread will tell you. You're not really buying a television. You're buying how your evenings will feel 5 years from now. You're buying a way to remember the exact laugh your partner made during that scene from Brooklyn 999. You're buying how it feels to watch snowfall from behind a frosted pane while rewatching Spirited Away for the 4th time. You're buying a breath, a pause, a picture that finally doesn't distract from itself. And that's what OLED does so well. It disappears when it matters. So what you're really left with is the moment. Before you go, let's step back for a second. This part's important. It's where you stop asking, what's the best, and start asking, what's the best for me? Do you want ease, simplicity, and relief from the stress of too many choices? Try the LG or even last year's B3. They're both quiet workers, unassuming, but never disappointing. And sometimes good enough, is it? You want color that ignites something inside you? A canvas that doesn't dim with daylight. Then the Samsung S95D answers with confidence. Show it daylight and it doesn't blink. It's not shy about magic. You want cinema, poetry, something that honors storytelling like it matters. That delicate contrast between presence and restraint. Sony still owns that crown, the A95L. It may not be the loudest, but it often feels like the truest. Even its sound comes from the screen itself, a detail so small but so sensibly human, you wonder why others don't try it. You're afraid of OLED's ghost burn-in, a reasonable fear. One logic alone can't always be quiet. Go then toward the LG G4. Its 5-year guarantee isn't just marketing, it's security, not from pixels, but from overthinking. That's what you're really after, isn't it? A permission slip to stop checking Reddit threads every week. You want something beautiful, but don't always want to think about it. The C4 is where comfort meets currency. Updated enough to feel fresh, restrained enough to never demand attention. The every person's premium OLED, favoring consistency over conquest. Need a screen for your bedroom, your quiet movie nights, or that second space you hope to retreat to when the world gets too loud. Few things are as softly competent as the LG C3 from 2023. Unbox it, mount it, forget the updates, just drift into story. It knows when to be present and when not to be. Want something unusual, understated, absent from YouTube thumbnails, but still excellent. Panasonic Z95A is the wild card your more thoughtful side will appreciate. A professional in a field of noise. A lens instead of a flashlight. A flavor you didn't know you'd crave until it's the only thing you order for years. That's the real heart of the matter. Sure, specs mean something, but if the only way you know a scene looks good is because you saw a chart, you've already lost the plot. A great OLED doesn't make you notice the tech. It makes you forget the tech entirely until there's only one story, only light, only time folding in on itself. So, what should you buy? If you've listened this far, you already know there's no single answer. There's only your answer. And maybe that's the point. You came looking for a recommendation, a shortcut, a top 5, something quick, something clickable, but maybe what you needed was someone to slow it all down. And remind you, it's not just a television you're taking home. It's 100 evenings, 100 moods, 100 chances to feel something again. They want one that's smart enough to work. Before you go, hit that subscribe button. We don't just review, we expose. From the hype to the hidden failures to the tricks brands hope you'll never question. So, hit like, tap subscribe, and join thousands of smart shoppers who already know smart spending starts with asking smarter questions. Not just what looks good, but what feels right. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, give your room something new to say, even when the sound is off.